turn things over to Pastor Fisher.
Well, I'll turn things over to Kennedy. Do you want to come forward and explain? Where is she?
There's Kennedy right in the back.
Yeah, you want to come forward and I'm going to have Kennedy explain a little bit about your mission trip. You're going to St. Louis, if I remember. Okay. You have to use your loud voice, your outside voice, and tell them a little bit about what you're doing and maybe why you're doing that. And maybe the mic will come on sometime during this. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Kennedy Gaston. I'm a freshman at Wisconsin Lutheran High School. I'm involved in a band, choir, brass ensemble, and I was in the musical, and I'm on the softball team. This year I'm going to St. Louis to the congregation of Pastor Waldschmidt's son, and we'll be doing some canvassing and possibly
She actually does more activities. I'm just, holy smokes. No, that's, seriously, that's one, when you hear someone talk like that, you know you're going to have a great experience because you develop a lot of relationships, a lot of opportunity for fellowship, for friendships, and for great experiences that will last a lifetime from your high school experience. So I'm glad you are so involved in a wide diversity of activities, including being able to put your faith into action by going on this mission trip. I bet money it won't be her last trip. Sometime during Wisco, so I hope you have a great experience. Thank you for being willing to put your faith into action. Great. I think is Grace here? Grace, you want to come forward and tell us a little bit about your mission trip? We're not here yet, but.
Bible studies for a bunch of the different churches and schools, and that's kind of a really cool opportunity because a lot of these churches and schools are actually fairly large for Africa, so
I think we have a mic.
So there'll be a lot of like larger schools and everything that we can be able to go to and then run different like VBS programs through it, and then we'll also be going to the Central Africa Medical Mission to deliver some, which is pretty cool because that's one of our missions that we're running through Wisco. So we'll be able to kind of give the money to them and also just be able to see the progress that they're going to be making through the money that we give them. And then we'll also be going to Zimbabwe, and then for Zimbabwe, that's kind of more of the like sightseeing and everything that we'll be doing. So yeah. We'll be gone about 2 weeks. So we leave, so I'm a senior, so I'll graduate Memorial Day weekend, and then the next week we're leaving. June 5th we'll be leaving, and then we don't return until the 17th, and we're flying through Dubai, which is also kind of cool because when we're in Dubai, we'll be able to stay overnight. So we're going to do, and it's all paid for through the airline that we're flying. We're flying Emirates, so we'll go to Dubai, stay overnight, hopefully be able to sightsee a little bit, and then we'll fly to Lusaka.
And where are you at in terms of fundraising for this, and how did you fundraise?
So I have all of the money paid off already, and then for me, it was my family that was able to just kind of have a lot of donations through my family, and then I was just able to pay it off myself.
Great, thank you. Evan, are you here, Evan? Where are you? There you are.
Hello everyone, I am a junior at Wisco. I partake in Wisco soccer, track and field, and student council. And my mission trip is that I'm going to Grenada. During Grenada, we will be having a VBS while we do arts and crafts and swimming lessons. We will also be making a shed over by the by the docks and stuff for boat equipment, and in future trips we will be using that to teach people, teach the young boys and stuff how to sail, because in Grenada, if you're able to sail and stuff, it shows that you're able to support a family in your future.
Tell us where you're at in terms of the fundraiser. How did you gather funds to be able to do this?
In my total goal is $2,000. I am almost there at $1,600, and most of the time I've been selling chocolates as a fundraiser, and have had a lot of family donations, and I've been paying the rest of it off myself.
I saw Murray. Murray, you want to come forward and tell us a little bit about your mission trip to Thailand?
Hi, I'm Mari. I'm a senior at Wisco, and I get to go on a mission trip to Thailand this year. It's super exciting to me because I have a lot of personal family connections in Thailand, so that's why that's the one I wanted to go on very badly. While we are in Thailand, we'll be helping teach the Thai children Bible stories and just get to interact a lot with their community, and I just think it's going to be a super cool opportunity to not only sightsee, see around what it's like there in Chiang Mai, but also to really help these little children know God. They might not know God, so be able to help teach them about that.
Tell them who your wonderful chaperone is.
And Pastor Fisher is the chaperone for that trip.
And where are you at in your fundraising for that?
So I've actually paid my whole trip off with a lot of family donations. I'm also going to be contributing some of it from my own personal job, but mostly family.
Okay. Well, thank you. Is this one working? Is this working? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to move this aside so I don't interfere with it, but we'll have it if we need it.
I don't think there's anyone else here. We have Matt Yeager and...
Yeah, I'm going to come up to that on a slide in a little bit. I will come back to it, but I know because we had one that had to leave, I wanted to get to that right away, give them an opportunity to explain what's going on. And to me, that it's just, it's one of the very special, unique blessings of Wisconsin Lutheran High School, those mission trips. Last year, if you looked at the report card, we had 103 different students of our student body on a different mission trip somewhere around the United States or around the world. And usually it's upperclassmen that are taking a trip somewhere outside the country. It's a little harder to take a 15-year-old to Thailand. So really 17, 18-year-olds are typically what we'll do on any trip overseas. I'd like to spend some time this morning talking about kind of a Great Commission gathering of the nations at Wisconsin Lutheran High School and the way that God is using our high school today in its multi-ethnic ministry, which is both bringing challenges and special blessings. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to raise your hand and I'll gladly try to take your question or say, hey, I'll answer that in just a minute. We're coming to that slide. But so don't hesitate to ask. I want it to be interactive. But my wife told me there's no way I'm going to get through my slide presentation, so I do have to move along, otherwise I'll be in trouble. As you know, Wisconsin Lutheran High School goes all the way back to 1903. A pastor named August Pieper and a few other pastors and a teacher got into a funeral caretaker's carriage and rode around the city of Milwaukee and trying to find a location and a volunteer faculty and staff to start what is now the oldest and in the Wisconsin Synod the largest area Lutheran high school in the United States, 1903. This was just uncovered, and it's actually in the process of being restored right now because it's the only copy I've been able to find of the class of 1906 from Wisconsin Lutheran High School. At the time, it was now called the Lutheran High School. It had gone through one other name change prior to that. For a while, it had a German name. They switched it to the Lutheran High School. This is the first graduating class. Some interesting things as you look at it. Do you see how many girls there are? Now, these three in the middle, they are the teachers. Director Meyer and the two other teachers. He looks like he's a high school student, but he's not. He's a teacher at that point. But then all these girls, one boy. The first year, there were 13 girls, and then eventually there were 20 girls that were in the very first class at Wisconsin High School. And in those days, girls didn't go to high school. A lot of boys didn't get to go to high school. You went to 8th grade. Girls went to finishing school, learning how to cook and iron, and boys started working. Or went to college, but such a small percentage went to high school and college in those days. But this was a new era, and Wisconsin High School was very innovative in that there were girls there. And then the boys started coming in the second semester, but they came in the evening. By the second year, they were part of the program altogether. And the school grew. This is 1920. Just look at how many kids there are there in 1920 as the Lutheran High School continues to expand. It was determined to grow and to survive. We even had a period in which there was a dormitory back in those early days because kids from northern Wisconsin would come down and be able to attend high school. Many of the northern parts of the state of Wisconsin did not have high school opportunities for anyone. It's just at that time where high school is becoming an American tradition and more students are coming there. Between 1929 and 38, during the Depression, very difficult time. Attendance drops because, again, private education. If you could get a job, how could you afford tuition? Faculty was woefully underpaid, and it was a very challenging time. By 1938, the attendance or the enrollment had dropped to 265. Now, between 1939 and 1948, so that period really going into World War II, 39 to 48, coming out of the Depression, it went from 265 in attendance to 858 by 1946. 858. So just in a few years, that's a pretty incredible growth. And that was all happening at First and Reservoir, at this old building. I think you have it pictured on your service folder today. But then we get into the 50s, and there's a lot going on synodically in the 50s. And it's a time really of division and rededication. That's the split between Missouri and Wisconsin Synod, and Milwaukee was sort of the epicenter of it because obviously a lot of the headquarters were here, a lot of pastors, a lot of churches, and it first, even before the Synod split, the two high schools split, and we get Milwaukee Lutheran moving up to the north, and they leave us at the old building, and eventually then we move to the place we are now on Glenview. And this is actually a dedication. Mark Jeske at the groundbreaking for the new school. Mark Jeske tells me he somewhere was in the front row of that as a boy. And just recently, he gave me the printed copy. His dad had typed out the prayer that was used at that groundbreaking, and he had it in his file, and now I have it for our records. Very, very cool. So split, groundbreaking is 58. In 1952, Missouri forms their own high school association. 55 is the first year that we are Wisconsin Lutheran High School, but we're in the old building, 55. And at that time, we had 360 in enrollment, 360. By the time we dedicate and move in 1959 to our current location, we go from 360, so it's only in a couple years, to 615. So when we move into the new building, it's 615. So it's a time of growth and expansion. A lot of things are going on in the high school, and enrollment is going up like this. I'll say in all of this, our focus was really on nurture. If you're a member of the classes of those times, some of you maybe, and certainly if you have parents, everyone who was coming to the high school was Lutheran. Everyone was Wisconsin Synod Lutheran that was coming to the high school. And we were certainly working very hard at teaching them to obey everything, really centered on nurture. But it wasn't, I have to say, I don't think we could say it was a Great Commission ministry, because the Great Commission has two sides to it. It always has nurture, but it also has outreach. They work together. And we were not a school that really did outreach. We were a school that nurtured our own. And that's fine, but that's how we began. But that's not where we are today, and that's kind of part of the journey that I like to explain. So for us, the big change where we as a school were able to pivot and what I would say has become a Great Commission school was the entry into the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program. And that was in the year 2000. In the year 2000, Wisco, along with a couple other of our schools in the city, enter into the program. Now, at the time, enrollment is 978 students at Wisco. And there were only 6 choice students who come to the school in the year 2000. Only 6. In our first year that we offered parental choice program. And it grew. Over a period of 5 years, it went from 6 to 120 students in the parental choice program. And that created an opportunity, and it created some challenges. I would say we really, over a period of time, we're starting to face what I would call a tipping point. And a question that was really out there in the minds of some of our alumni and in some of our pastors and some of our congregations was, what kind of school is Wisco going to be? Where is it going? And is it going to just serve the city? Because what was happening literally was our enrollment of choice students was going up, our overall enrollment was coming down, and there was something also happening ethnically. The number of white students was declining, and the number of black students was increasing. And there was a lot of concern about, what does the school look like in 5 years or in 10 years? What is going to happen to Wisco? And I'll point to, across the United States, integration has been a challenge. You know, schools today are no more integrated than they were at the time of the forced integration in the 60s. It's just, schools aren't integrated. Most black students go to school with black kids, most Hispanics go to predominantly Hispanic, most white kids go to schools that are overwhelmingly white. That's the way it still is in the United States. It really hasn't changed much, even after integration was the law of the land. So what sometimes happened in neighborhoods was happening in schools, and it's happened in Wells schools too, where the increase in ethnic minorities goes up, and at a certain point, all the white kids are gone. It happened in MPS, when there was a forced busing in Milwaukee, a huge decline in the number of white students that are in MPS, and they moved out. That's happened in neighborhoods. Someone once said integration is the time between when the first black person moves in and the last white person moves out. It's kind of a sad commentary on integration, but that's what was the concern, is Wisco reaching a tipping point where families from the suburbs are not going to send their kids there. So critical changes in enrollment really were part of this. Between the year 2000 and 2013, overall enrollment had dropped from 978 to 758. So that's a big drop and a big change ethnically within the school. Enrollment in the choice program had gone from 6 to 350 in that period of time. But that is also the time when we said, we need to understand who we are and what we want to do to serve our conference and all of our kids. And I would say that's when we really cast a vision to serve all and to be deliberate about having a healthy multi-ethnic diversity at the high school. So we began to try to manage that and say, look, we don't want to be a school that just serves the city, nor do we want to be a school that just serves the suburbs. We believe we can do both. And that was a deliberate, intentional plan that we've been working at ever since. And we really saw a turnaround in enrollment from that period on. So that was our low point in terms of attendance, and it has grown since. It also has grown in diversity since then, but it has held really at the number somewhat like this. So this is typical of what it's today. It's what you have on your report card, and we have maintained that sort of balance, about half our students being white, about 35% being black, about 10 to 15% Hispanic on any given year, about 10% Asian typically. So that's what's been kind of holding as we've worked to serve city, suburbs, and even beyond. During that time, the other thing that happened is we started saying, is there a way we can expand our international program? We think that's going to benefit our overall diversity. So this is that enrollment chart. We are this year at 938, our official enrollment, 938. That's a 20-year high. And if you can see, we've been steadily moving up back to the range where we were before. The international program, as part of this Great Commission ministry that's trying to do both nurture and outreach well, really had some very small beginnings. And it was limited in some way because we just needed to learn how to do it. And it was limited because we had to have a place for those kids to go who are coming from all over the world. It starts in 2007, technically, with one Chinese student. But this is the growth pattern of the international program. So from 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 7, 8, we really in 2012 said we really want to ramp this up and grow the international program. Today we have 70 international students in the dormitory. We have 19 different countries represented today. We started out, we bought some houses to try, we were trying to get them into homestays. We just couldn't get enough homestays. Eventually grew into a house program, and then the Lord blessed the idea of building our own dormitory. So during this period, we were able to build a dorm, which is called Honey Creek Hall, and was dedicated in 2019. And it has 72 beds. It's apartment-style living. Has a beautiful courtyard outside of it. Students can walk. It's on campus, back and forth for their meals. Inside, they have, if you haven't been inside the dorm, a room never looks this clean. This is the one snapshot. This is the day of move-in. It will never look like this again. So savor that moment when it's actually perfectly pristine and clean. I love it, but it won't last. So it has a whole lot of amenities that have been a big attraction to students. And we have students coming from the United States, from parts of northern Wisconsin again, like back in the old days, Colorado and other states, Virginia this year. So we have students coming from all over as well as all over the globe. And then each of these units, like the shared apartment, has then 3 sets of bedrooms, so 6 students can live together in an apartment style with 2 different bathrooms connected to that apartment. And so there's 72, and right now we're at 70 in the dorm, and look to be close to that or full next year. So international students are coming from all over the world. You can see Europe and Asia, Africa. We have not had anyone from Australia, but Jaden Kirko is, his father is Australian, but it doesn't count. His father still has his Australian passport, but Jaden does not have one. Our mission today, in some ways I would say, it hasn't changed since 1903, but in other ways it has. It's broadened. It's grasping even something bigger than I would say was the vision of those few pastors and a teacher who went around Milwaukee in 1902, really, before 1903 we started, and were looking for a place to start a school, and eventually became Emmanuel, a Missouri Synod congregation who loaned them a classroom. But today, we prepare young people for productive, Christ-centered lives in a diverse world. The world has changed since 1903, and yet our mission, in essence, hasn't. Our vision, I'll talk about our values, sorry. Our values really are first, these are 5 of our core values that we say are really at the heart of who we try to be, is Great Commission focus, that we are going to nurture those who know Jesus while also training those who already know Jesus to share Jesus, to live Jesus, to make it meaningful in their life, because we want to do outreach too, both together, nurture and outreach, of making disciples. And then we're Lutheran, we're proud of it, and we want to be distinctively Lutheran in our character, in our commitment to the scriptures and the Lutheran confessions. We are all about being a school that's academically excellent, and we serve a very diverse group of students, not only ethnically, but academically. In terms of academic preparedness. We have some kids who come to us who are not ready for high school, in all honesty. And we have some kids who are ready for 10th grade when they're in 9th grade. So how do we deal with all that? We have a very broad curriculum and work hard at making sure we're serving the needs of all those kids. It's the middle that I would say we are working the most at trying to figure out how to make sure we're challenging and pushing them so that we're getting everyone on the top and the bottom and through the middle, which is a majority of the kids really are more in the middle. We also want to work to develop servant leaders as a primary part of who we are. We believe that things like our Viking Leadership Academy are essential to getting that Christ-like attitude of service, and I'll talk more about some of the other programs that we do that with. And then celebrating this diversity that God has given us and seeing that that's a testimony to the authenticity of the gospel, that the gospel alone can do what's happening at Wisco as it brings people together and allows them to be a glimpse of what heaven is supposed to look like and to live that now. Our vision is where every student finds success to the glory of God. There isn't a parent, whether they're coming from another country, sending their child thousands of miles away, or they're coming from the suburbs, or they're coming from the city. Every parent wants one thing for their kids. They want to be successful. Now the question is, what is that definition of success? And it's a little bit different from each family. But all of that is about giving glory to God. So we are going to help kids figure out their path, whether it's whether it's going directly into the trades or the military or going to college, but looking at whatever you're doing, let's stay connected to Jesus and live your life to the glory of God. This is our school today, your school today, and it again reflects 1903, our founding, and 1958 when we were breaking ground at this site, which is on Glenview. Last year, we went through major renovation of our outdoor athletic facility in a campaign called Building on the Legacy. And this is actually a little bit at the end of construction. I'm going to get a new updated picture now that maybe I'll wait till we get some grass growing. That'll be better even. But all of the synthetic track and the new artificial turf and a practice field for the first time that we can do. We have batting cages on campus and things like that. So what's the context today? What's the ministry look like today? I'd say we're supported, as mentioned in the sermon, by 50 congregations that are the conference. We have a student population over 900. 60% are members, card-carrying members of the Wells. Do you have your card? Do you have your card here? I hope you do. I was going to check them at the door, but I didn't get time. We were having mic problems. So 60% are active members of the Wells. About 75% of our kids come from one of our feeder schools, and about 7% of our students are international, so about 70. And then we're really proud to be a partner with churches like St. Jacobi to be able to do together what you can't do individually. That's what I'm talking about. There's 39 members of your congregation who are at Wisco right now, alumni of your school, 39. And there's a few more who actually went to your school, but were members of other churches too. So a very important feeder into the high school. And then in all of this, I would say there's certain things we're working at trying to do as a school, and it starts with kind of creating this mindset of inclusion and outreach to actually live the Great Commission in our lives. We have to help people to think outside themselves. It isn't natural to think about others. We have to work at it. So Jesus gave this command to love one another, and he even said this is going to be the way that people are going to know that you really are Christians. You're going to do something that other people don't do. They love each other when it's nice to be loved. When you love me, I'll love you. When you're not like me, it's harder to love you when you're different from me. So how do I get that mindset to think outside of myself? That's part of what we're trying to put in our kids today. So one of the ways we do that, we have a very large program, and I'm not going to highlight every program we have, but Wisco Witnesses in the World, hundreds of kids are involved in this at our school. They have a number of committees. They have a committee for Jerusalem, which is really things happening at the school and trying to help create things that help witness at the school. In all Judea is our local congregations and ministry around Wisconsin. In Samaria is cross-cultural efforts that we do, and some of our world trips then to the ends of the earth. All of that is part of Wisco Witnesses of the World. So the stories you're hearing from the students from St. Jacobi who are going to go on mission trips, that's all part of WWW. We also have an annual civil rights tour. About 32 of our students, sophomores and juniors, every year, and 8 chaperones go on a civil rights tour. It's always a divided bus, half black, half white, approximately. And again, it's a chance to deepen interracial dialogue, to figure out how to talk to one another about sensitive subjects, to set up a protocol and a plan. And the reason we take sophomores and juniors is intentional, so that they can have their junior or senior year to put it into practice and to be leaders within the student body at dealing with some of the issues that come up naturally in a cross-cultural ministry and the tensions that are inevitable when people aren't like you, and we have to have conversations then. Part of creating this mindset is also our mission trips, and it's been a long history, and no one has as many or as a broad curriculum on this of any of our high schools. So last year it was 103 students and 15 different mission trips, as we literally were trying to put that Great Commission into practice. And sometimes to get out of your comfort zone, away from your own home and family, and to be just focused on one thing. We're going to try to share Jesus during this time, and we're going to think intentionally about it. Is a very healthy exercise for us. So 59 kids went on 9 different domestic trips last year. They're helping at camps, putting on sports camps, doing all kinds of different things in sharing Jesus all over the country. And then 44 students went on a number of international trips that included helping at a summer camp. We were in Brazil working with families, with kids who were latchkey kids, for instance. There was fixing up churches. This is in Thailand. Wisconsin Lutheran High School very well. I was very pleased to receive that, but not shocked totally, because we get very good reports, and I've been able to lead some of these trips and watch the kids just blossom in terms of their mindset towards others. So here's some pictures for St. Jacobi kids who are going on mission trips, and I think we've caught all who are here, but you got 2 going to Grenada, 1 to Zambia, 1 to Thailand with me, and then 2 domestic ones this year in San Antonio and St. Louis during the summer. So literally sending them out around the globe. As we create this mindset of outreach and inclusion, which is not natural to us, we also try to do that throughout the whole student body with a student effort every year. This was last year's Our Hands for His Service. As students learn to share, it's an ongoing challenge, but it had helped in Grenada and it helped last year in Malawi. And this year, we're doing something for Thailand and Grenada. We also celebrate the differences, the blessings we have of being different, of bringing different cultural elements to the table, recognizing God made them. God made the differences.